A silent cry. The morning sun cast long shadows across the crystal mines of Nexa 7 when the first explosions shattered the peace. Administrator Kira Voss dropped her morning tea as the ground beneath her feet trembled violently. Through the large windows of the colony's main building, she watched in horror as enemy ships descended from the sky like metal vultures. The Zephyrians had lived on Nexa 7 for over 60 years. They were a peaceful people with pale blue skin and large, gentle eyes that reflected their calm nature. The colony had grown from a small mining outpost to a thriving community of 4,500 souls. They extracted rare energy crystals from the planet's core and sold them to traders from across the galaxy. They had never hurt anyone. They had never wanted to fight, but the Krellian Empire cared nothing for their peaceful ways. The Krellians were a warrior race with dark gray skin and sharp teeth. They conquered worlds for resources and pleasure. They had heard about the crystal mines on Nexa 7, and they wanted everything the planet had to offer. Kira ran through the colony's streets as explosions erupted around her. The Krellian ships fired their weapons without mercy. Buildings crumbled. People screamed. The air filled with smoke and dust. She reached the emergency command center just as another blast knocked her to the ground. Administrator Voss called out Nexon Tal, the colony's defense coordinator. He was a tall Zephyrian with worry lines etched deep in his face. The outer defenses are gone. We lost contact with the mining stations. The Krellians are landing troops everywhere. Kira struggled to her feet. Blood trickled from a cut on her forehead. How many ships? 23 warships. Maybe more coming. Our defense systems weren't built for this kind of attack. The Zephyrians had only basic defensive weapons. They were meant to protect against space pirates or wild animals, not a full military invasion. Their few security officers were brave but untrained for real combat. Get everyone to the underground shelters, Kira ordered. Send out distress calls on all frequencies. Someone has to help us. The next few hours were a nightmare. The Krellians systematically destroyed every building on the surface. Their ground troops moved through the colony like a plague, killing anyone they found. The Zephyrians fled deep, underground into the mining tunnels and emergency shelters carved into the rock. Kira found herself in the main shelter with over 2,000 people. Families huddled together in the darkness. Children cried for parents who would never return. The elderly sat in shocked silence, unable to understand why anyone would want to harm their peaceful community. Any response to our distress calls? Kira asked the communications officer. Nothing, Administrator. I've been broadcasting for 6 hours. The Galactic Federation received our signals, but they say they're dealing with conflicts in other sectors. They promise to send help when they can. Kira closed her eyes. The Galactic Federation was supposed to protect smaller colonies like theirs. They had treaties and agreements. But treaties meant nothing when death rained from the sky. Elder Senna, the colony's spiritual leader, approached Kira. She was ancient even by Zephyrian standards, her skin so pale it was almost white. The crystals, she whispered. They want our crystals, but they will kill us all to get them. We won't let that happen, Kira said, though she wasn't sure how they could stop it. The bombardment continued for days. The Krellians were in no hurry. They knew the Zephyrians were trapped underground. They knew no help was coming. They could take their time and enjoy the hunt. 3 weeks passed. Food ran low. The air recycling systems began to fail. Disease spread through the cramped shelters. Every day, more people died. The Krellians sent messages promising a quick death if the colonists surrendered. They also promised slow torture if they DIDN T. Kira refused to give up. She organized rationing systems. She helped care for the wounded. She kept broadcasting distress calls even though no one answered. But in her heart, she knew they were all going to die. On the 22nd day, everything changed. Captain Marcus Chon was having a bad week. His cargo ship, the Wanderer, had been delayed at 3 different space stations. Bureaucratic paperwork had cost him 2 lucrative contracts. His crew was getting restless, and his bank account was getting empty. The Wanderer wasn't much to look at. She was an old cargo hauler with patched hull plates and engines that needed constant maintenance. But she was home to Chun and his crew of 12 humans. They transported goods between the outer colonies and the inner systems, making just enough money to keep flying. Chun sat in the captain's chair on the small bridge, reviewing their next destination. They were carrying medical supplies to a mining station 3 systems away. It was routine work, but it paid the bills. "Captain," called out Emma Park, the ship's navigator and communications officer. "I'm picking up something strange on the emergency frequencies." Chun looked up from his paperwork. Emma was a young woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She had excellent instincts about these things. "What kind of strange?" "It's a distress call, but it's not in any human language. The computer is trying to translate it, but it's having trouble with the syntax." Riley Santos, the ship's engineer, looked up from his maintenance work. He was a stocky man with oil-stained hands and a practical mind. "Pirates, maybe? Could be a trap." "I don't think so," Emma said. "This signal has been broadcasting for weeks. It's getting weaker, like they're running out of power." Dr. James Wright, the ship's medical officer, joined them on the bridge. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. "What's the situation?" "Unknown distress signal," Chun explained. "Emma, can you clean it up enough to understand what they're saying?" Emma worked at her station for several minutes. The ship's computer was designed for human languages, but it was adaptable. Slowly, the alien words began to make sense. "This is Administrator Kira Voss of the Zephyrian colony on Nexus 7, the translated voice said. "We are under attack by the Krellian Empire. 4,500 civilians need immediate help. Our defenses have failed. Please respond. Please help us." The bridge went silent. Chun felt something cold in his stomach. They had just received a distress call from an alien species. First contact was supposed to be handled by diplomatic ships and trained specialists, not cargo haulers. "How far away are they?" Chun asked. Emma checked her instruments. "Nexus 7 is about 8 hours away at maximum speed. But Captain, we're not equipped for this kind of situation. We should report it to Earth Command." "That would take weeks," Dr. Wright said quietly. "By then, it might be too late." Chun stared at the star charts on the main screen. Somewhere out there, thousands of people were dying. People who had done nothing wrong except exist in the wrong place at the wrong time. The Galactic Federation had apparently ignored their calls for help. "Captain," Riley said, "I know what you're thinking. But we're a cargo ship. We have basic defensive systems and some mining equipment. We're not soldiers." "No," Sean agreed. "But we're the only ones who heard that call. We're the only ones who can help." He looked around the bridge at his crew. These people had followed him through dangerous space routes and difficult times. They trusted his judgment. But this was different. This was asking them to risk their lives for complete strangers. "I won't order anyone to do this," Chun said. "This is volunteer only. Anyone who wants to continue to our original destination can stay aboard. Anyone who wants to help can speak up." Emma was the first to respond. "Captain, I've been listening to that signal for an hour. I can hear the fear in her voice. If we don't help them, who will?" Riley nodded slowly. "I can modify our mining equipment. Turn it into weapons. It won't be pretty, but it might work." Dr. Wright smiled. "I took an oath to help people. I didn't realize it would include aliens, but the principle is the same. One by one, the other crew members agreed. They were scared, but they were also determined. They had heard someone crying for help, and they couldn't ignore it. Asterisk. Chun felt pride swell in his chest. This was what made humans special. When faced with impossible odds, they didn't run. They fought. They helped. They did what was right, even when it was dangerous. Emma, set course for the Nexus 7 system. Maximum speed. Riley, start working on those weapon modifications. We're going to need everything you can give us. Dr. Wright, prepare the medical bay. We might have a lot of wounded to treat. As the Wanderer changed course and accelerated toward the unknown, Chun opened a channel to the alien colony. This is Captain Marcus Chun of the human vessel Wanderer. We received your distress call. Help is on the way. The response came back quickly, filled with static, but clear enough to understand. Humans? We have never heard of humans. But you came. You actually came. We're still 8 hours away, Chun said. Hold on. We're coming. Chun closed the channel and looked out at the stars. He had no idea what they would find when they arrived. He had no idea if they could actually help. But he knew they had to try. Behind them, the Wanderer's engines burned bright against the darkness of space. Ahead lay the unknown. But for the first time in weeks, the people of Nexus 7 had hoped help was coming. And it was coming fast. Asterisk, the storm breaks. The Wanderer dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Nexus 7 system, and Captain Marcus Chun felt his heart sink. The main view screen showed a scene of devastation that made his blood run cold. 23 Krellian warships surrounded the planet like hungry predators. The once green world was now brown and scarred, its surface pockmarked with craters from continuous bombardment. My God, whispered Dr. Wright. They're destroying everything. Emma Park's fingers flew over her communications console. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from those ships. They're not just attacking random targets. They're systematically destroying all surface infrastructure. Riley Santos looked up from his engineering station, his face grim. Those are military vessels, Captain. Real warships. What we've got for weapons won't even scratch their paint. Chun studied the enemy fleet. The Krellian ships were massive, angular vessels bristling with weapon systems. Each one was at least 10 times the size of the Wanderer. In any reasonable universe, a cargo ship wouldn't dare approach such a force, but Chun had stopped being reasonable the moment he heard that first distress call. Emma, can you reach the colony? Trying now, Captain. The signal is very weak. Most of their communication equipment has been destroyed. After several minutes of adjustment, a familiar voice came through the speakers. It was Administrator Kira Voss, but she sounded different now. Weaker, desperate. This is Kira Voss. Is someone there? Please respond. Administrator, this is Captain Chun. We're here. We're going to get you out. There was a long pause. Then, Kira's voice returned, filled with disbelief. You came. You actually came. But, Captain, there are too many of them. You should leave before they detect you. Not happening, Chun said firmly. How many survivors are there? About 2,800 people in the underground shelters. But the Krellians are preparing for a final assault. They've been playing with us, but their patience is running out. Chun looked around the bridge at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for orders. They were scared, but they were ready. Riley, what do you have for me? Riley had been working non-stop during their 8-hour journey. I've converted our mining lasers into focused beam weapons. They're much more powerful now, but they'll burn out after a few shots. I've also turned our cargo probes into guided missiles. They're not military grade, but they'll pack a punch. What about defenses? I've rerouted power to the shields and strengthened the hull plating. We can take a few hits, but not many. Chon nodded. Emma, what's the tactical situation? Emma had been studying the enemy fleet. The Krellian ships are in a standard blockade formation. They're confident, probably not expecting any resistance. Most of their attention is focused on the planet. Any weaknesses? Maybe. Their formation is designed to prevent ships from escaping. The planet not to defend against attack from outside the system. If we approach from the right angle, we might catch them off guard. Chon made his decision. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to hit them hard and fast. Cause as much damage as possible. While they're distracted, we'll send shuttles to the surface to evacuate survivors. Dr. Wright looked worried. Captain, we only have 2 shuttles. Even if we make multiple trips, we can't save everyone. Then we'll save as many as we can, Chun said. Riley, can you modify the cargo bay to hold more people? Already working on it. I can remove the atmospheric barriers and set up life support for about 500 people. It won't be comfortable, but they'll live. Chun opened a channel to the entire ship. All hands, this is the captain. We're going into battle against impossible odds. I know you're scared. I'm scared too. But down on that planet, 2,800 innocent people are counting on us. We're going to give them a fighting chance. The Wanderer moved carefully through the outer asteroid belt, using the rocky debris for cover. The ship's stealth systems were basic, but they were enough to avoid detection while the Krellians focused on their bombardment. Captain, Emma whispered, we're in position. Enemy flagship is 50,000 kilometers ahead. Chun could see the massive Krellian command ship on the view screen. It was a brutal-looking vessel with glowing red weapon ports and armor plating that looked like it could withstand a direct hit from a star. Open a channel to the enemy fleet, Shen ordered. Channel open, Captain. Chun took a deep breath. Attention. Krellian fleet. This is Captain Marcus Chun of the Human Federation vessel Wanderer. You are attacking innocent civilians. Cease your bombardment immediately and withdraw from this system. The response came quickly. A harsh voice filled the bridge, speaking in broken English. Human ship, you are trespassing in Krellian territory. You have no authority here. Surrender now or be destroyed. Chun recognized the voice of someone used to being obeyed. Someone who had never been challenged. This is your final warning. Stop the attack, or we will stop you. Laughter echoed through the speakers. One small ship against our entire fleet? You are either very brave or very stupid, human. Both, Chun said. Riley, are you ready? All weapons charged, Captain. Targeting the flagship's weapon systems. Emma, record everything. If we don't make it out of this, Earth needs to know what happened here. Recording, Captain. Chun felt time slow down. This was it, the moment that would define them. Win or lose, they were about to announce humanity's presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Fire. The Wanderer's modified mining lasers lanced out through space. The beam struck the Krellian flagship's weapon arrays, causing massive explosions that lit up the darkness. The enemy ship's shields flared and failed. Secondary explosions rippled along its hull. Direct hit, Riley shouted. Their main weapons are offline. The Krellian fleet erupted into chaos. Ships turned toward the Wanderer, their weapons charging. But Chun was already moving. Emma, evasive maneuvers. Riley launched the missiles. The Wanderer twisted through space like a dancer, dodging the first wave of enemy fire. The converted cargo probes streaked toward their targets, each one programmed to hit a different ship. The explosions were beautiful and terrible, lighting up the void like deadly fireworks. 3 enemy ships have lost propulsion, Emma reported. 2 more are venting atmosphere. But the Krellians were already adapting. More ships turned toward the Wanderer, their weapons locking on. The small cargo ship shuddered as enemy fire began to find its mark. "Shields at 60%. Riley called out. "We can't take much more of this." Chun gripped his chair as another blast rocked the ship. "Launch the shuttles. Get our people to the surface." 2 small shuttles launched from the Wanderer's bay, racing toward the planet's surface. Each one carried a skeleton crew and as much life support equipment as possible. Their mission was simple: find the survivors and get them out. Asterisk. Meanwhile, the Wanderer continued its desperate battle. The ship darted between enemy vessels, using its small size and maneuverability to avoid the worst of the damage. But there were too many enemies, too many weapons. "Captain," Emma said. Her voice strained. "I'm reading massive energy buildup from the flagship. They're preparing some kind of super weapon." Chun looked at the tactical display. The Krellian command ship was powering up something that made their other weapons look like toys. If that thing fired, it would wipe out the Wanderer in one shot. "Riley, can you give me more speed? I'm already pushing the engines beyond their limits. Any more and we'll tear the ship apart." Chun made a decision that surprised even himself. "Set course for the flagship. Full speed. Captain?" Emma looked at him in shock. "That's suicide." "Maybe. But if we can take out their command ship, the rest of the fleet might retreat." The Wanderer accelerated toward the massive Krellian vessel. Enemy fire erupted around them, but Chun held course. The flagship's superweapon was almost ready to fire. 10 seconds to collision, Emma announced. "Riley, transfer all power to the forward shields." "Everything we've got." 5 seconds. 3 seconds. "Captain, they're hailing us." At the last possible moment, Chun ordered, "Hard to port." The Wanderer screamed past the flagship's hull, so close that Chun could see individual weapon ports. But instead of crashing into the ship, the cargo vessel launched its final surprise. Boarding pods away. Riley shouted "Dot" during the journey to Nexus 7. Riley had converted their emergency escape pods into boarding vehicles. Each one carried 3 crew members and enough explosive to cripple a warship from the inside. The pods crashed through the flagship's hull and disappeared into its interior. Seconds later, massive explosions erupted from within the Krellian command ship. Its lights flickered and died. Its weapons went silent. "Direct hit," Emma cheered. "The flagship is dead in space." The other Krellian ships began to pull back, unsure what to do without their command vessel. In the confusion, the Wanderer's shuttles reached the planet's surface. On Nexus 7, the human rescue teams found the Zephyrian survivors huddled in their underground shelters. The aliens stared in amazement at these strange beings who had come from nowhere to help them. "We're here to take you to safety," Dr. Wright told Administrator Kira Voss. "But we need to move fast." The evacuation was chaotic, but effective. Humans organized the survivors into groups, prioritizing the wounded and the young. The Zephyrians couldn't believe that strangers would risk their lives to save them. "Why?" Kira asked Dr. Wright as they loaded another group of refugees. "Why? Did you come? We are nothing to you." Dr. Wright smiled as he helped an elderly Zephyrian into the shuttle. "Because you needed help. That's what humans do." It took 6 hours to evacuate all the survivors. The Wanderer's cargo bay was packed with refugees, but every single one of them was safe. The Krellian fleet, leaderless and confused, eventually withdrew from the system dot as the Wanderer limped away from Nexus 7, its hull scarred and its engines barely functioning. Captain Chun looked back at the planet they had saved. 2,800 people were alive because his crew had chosen to help. "Captain," Emma said quietly, "we're receiving a message from Earth Command. They've detected the battle. A fleet is being dispatched to secure the system." Chun nodded. "Tell them the situation is under control." "And Emma?" Make sure they know what happened here. Make sure they know that sometimes the right thing to do is the dangerous thing to do. Elder Senna, the ancient Zephyrian spiritual leader, approached Shun in the crowded cargo bay. Captain Shun, your people have given us a gift beyond measure. How can we ever repay you? Chun looked around at the faces of the survivors. Some were injured. All were grateful. They had lost their home, but they had kept their lives. You don't need to repay us, Chun said. Just remember that there are people in the universe who will help when help is needed. And maybe someday, you can be those people for someone else. The Wanderer continued its journey through space, carrying its precious cargo toward safety. Behind them, the Nexus 7 system was silent and scarred, but it was free. And somewhere in the vast galaxy, word began to spread about the humans who had appeared like a thunderstorm, striking hard and fast to protect the innocent. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans said they would help, they meant it, even if it meant standing alone against impossible odds, even if it meant fighting when they should have run, even if it meant being a storm when the universe needed thunder. That was what humans did. That was who they were, and the galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk.